Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadi Tamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, and we will share the screen here. Share, there we go. January 26th in Asia. And today we just have one topic, as it's long. It is entitled The Nature and Worship of Lord Murugan. So as Taipusam is coming up, just help us get in the mood here. It also has some information on Taipusam that some of you may not be familiar with. So it's on YouTube. It's got a bit.ly too, okay. This presentation on Lord Murugan is based on Gurudeva's writings about Lord Murugan, plus my own research as well as my experiences in participating in Murugan pujas and festivals for almost 50 years. Whenever that was written, it was 50 years. It is based on a talk that I wrote earlier this year to be presented in Mauritius on the occasion of Taipusam. The audience at that talk was a Hindu audience, but not an audience of strictly Tamils, which means that the talk included a few points that everyone here today, of course, knows well. So, it's my experience when you present Lord Murugan to a mixed Hindu group, number of people aren't familiar with him, so you have to kind of give the basics. And you may be interested to know, I have to update this picture, that the first time I attended the Angel Festival at Nallur Kandaswamy Koval was in August 1972. Whoa. How many years is that? 28 plus 25. 53 years now, okay. 53 years ago. Lord Murugan is referred to by many different names. Some of the most frequently used are Kartikeya, Kumara, Skanda, Shanmuganatha, Aramugam, Palini, and Subramanya. So some Hindus consider him to be the Supreme Being, which is the viewpoint of the denomination called Kaumaram. Most consider him to be part of Saivism. So Kaumaram is not very popular these days, the idea that Murugan is the Supreme Being. In Saivism, he is the younger son of Lord Shiva, born of Shiva's divine mind. The older son, of course, is Lord Ganesha. Here we have our happy family. Murugan's Vahana is a peacock, Mayil, and he carries a spear called a veil, which represents the power to overcome darkness and ignorance. Though recognized across the subcontinent, Murugan is a particular favorite among the Tamil people, and its history in Tamil literature dates back to the Sangam period, 1st to 4th century CE. In fact, he is considered to be a Tamil Kadavul, Lord of Tamil, and is said to have taught the Tamil language to sage Agastya. In addition to Sangam literature, several tales of Murugan may also be found in various Puranas. He has two consorts, Devayana and Vali. Devayana is the daughter of Indra, and Vali is the adopted daughter of a hunter chieftain. Some temples have all three in a one sanctum, which is named Vali Devayana Sameta Subramanya. So that's the sanctum in Maryland, USA. Temple Gurdeva helped start. That's what they call it. Really tall murtis there. Hinduism is not the only religion in which Lord Murugan is found. As would seem quite natural, he is also found in the Buddhist religion. This is a Japanese image of the six-faced deity, which has the familiar peacock, but distinctive Japanese facial features. If you haven't seen that, I'm sure it's quite charming there. Murugan is a Japanese. As would be expected, Lord Murugan's brother, Lord Ganesha, also made the journey to Japan, where he is known as Kangiten. Notice he has a radish in his hand. In Shingon Buddhism, Murugan is called Skanda, Idaten, and Kumaraten. So excuse my pronunciation if you actually know how these words are pronounced. In Mahayana Buddhism, he is called Skanda and Wei Tuo. Skanda's function is to protect the monasteries, the monks, and the religion's teachings. Interesting role in Buddhism, huh? Protects the monastery, the monks, and the religion's teachings. In Chinese temples, Skanda faces the statue of the Buddha in the main shrine. The legend of Lord Murugan's birth is intimately connected to the protection of Indra and other devas from the clutches of the asura Surapadma. When the devas requested Shiva to redeem them from the asura, it is said that 6 sparks came out of the powerful third eye of Shiva, who gave the sparks to Vayu, who in turn handed them over to Agni. Then Agni left the sparks in the Ganga, which brought the sparks to the holy Saravana Poikai, Saravana tank. The 6 sparks became 6 children and were brought up by 6 Kartikeya Pendir. Parvati came there and united all 6 into one, with 6 faces, 12 hands, and 12 eyes in one body, called Shanmuga, or Aramugam. That's the story. The 6 babies that were lying on the lotuses in the Saravana pond were nursed by the Devis of the constellation Kritika, also called Kartikai and known in English as the Pleiades. Hence, Skanda came to be known by the name of Kartikeya, meaning child of the Pleiades. There we can see him in the Pleiades stars. There's 6 major stars in the Pleiades. There are 3 main annual festivals to Lord Murugan: Taipusam, Vaikasi Vasakam, and Skanda Shashti. Taipusam, coming up, occurs on Pusha Nakshatra in January, February. During this festival, we fast and perform public penance called Kavadi, seeking Muruga's blessings to dispel our selfishness, pride, and vanity. Here we have Batu Caves. Sanskrit word for penance is prayaschitta and refers to an act of devotion, bhakti, austerity, tapas, or discipline, sukritya, undertaken to soften or nullify the anticipated reaction of a past action. Penance is uncomfortable karma inflicted upon oneself to mitigate one's karmic burden caused by wrongful actions. It is consciously relieving the karmic burden of wrongful action by undergoing physical or mental hardships and challenges. So better to get it over with than have it come at an inopportune time, I'm sure Gurudeva would say. Penance offered to Lord Murugan, especially during Taipusam, consisting of carrying in procession a heavy, beautifully decorated short wooden pole surrounded by a wooden arch from which pots of milk hang, which are to be used for his abhisheka. The participants' tongue and other parts of the body are often pierced with small silver spears or hooks. That's a pretty big one there. Satguru Bodhinath Swami cautions. Okay, I'm quoting myself. Carrying kavadi and other forms of penance should never be done for the purpose of impressing others. What then is the proper way to perform kavadi and other forms of penance? That's a question to you. What do we want to have in our mind when we do it? Rather, it should be done having in mind specific misdeeds you are atoning for, as well as promising Lord Murugan not to repeat them again. Well, that's so important. Read it again. Rather, it should be done having in mind specific misdeeds you are atoning for, as well as promising Lord Murugan not to repeat them again. So that's very important to have in the mind if you're doing the full kavadi, not just to attend Thaipusam. Gurudeva had this insight into the inner process of penance. Darshan, coming from the great temples of our gods, can change the patterns of karma dating back many past lives, clearing and clarifying conditions that were created hundreds of years ago and are but seeds now waiting to manifest in the future. Through the grace of the gods, those seeds can be removed if the manifestation in the future would not enhance the evolution of the soul. Next one is really beautiful. He also has this statement that relates specifically to Lord Murugan. When we perform penance and beseech his blessings, this merciful God hurls his veil into the astral plane, piercing discordant sounds, colors, and shapes, removing the mind's darkness. So that's the goal, is to remove some of the mind's darkness, to get rid of some of our negative karma. The second annual festival is Vaikasi Visakam, held on Lord Kartikeya's birth star Vishaka Nakshatra in May-June. Elaborate Abhisheka is conducted in all his temples. It is a time of gift-giving to Panditas and great souls, weddings, feedings for the poor, caring for trees, spiritual initiation, diksha, and conclaves of holy men. The third annual festival is Skanda Shashti, which is celebrated on the 6 days after the new moon in October-November, with festive processions and pujas invoking his protection and grace. It honors Murugan's receiving the veil. His lance of spiritual illumination, Jnana Shakti, and culminates in a dramatic victory celebration of spiritual light over asuric darkness, which tells the story of the legend of Lord Murugan defeating Surapadma. The asura, Surapadma, had taken the devas captive. Lord Shiva asked Lord Murugan to destroy the asuras and free the devas from their cruel bondage. Lord Murugan reached Tiruchendur with his huge army and encamped. He sent his lieutenant Veerabahu to the asuras as an emissary and asked Surapadma to release the devas. Since Surapadma turned down the request, war was started. Tense battle continued for a few days. During the first 5 days of the war, the brothers of Surapadma and all other asuras perished. On the 6th day in the battle between Lord Murugan and Surapadma, Surapadma became a gigantic mango tree which threatened to smother the world. Murugan cleft this tree with his veil, and Surapadma then took shape as a peacock and a rooster, both of which charged at Murugan. However, the deity tamed both with a single loving glance. To commemorate the defeat of the asuras, Murugan ordered that the peacock and rooster should respectively become his mount and emblem of his standard. The Surapadma's gift of immortality by Shiva was recognized, and he became, in the form of 2 birds, the transformed and submissive symbols of Murugan's dominance. So that's the story. Great for kids. Makes a great play. But we also want to know how a devotee can apply this story to himself, because it also is talking about what happens inside of a devotee. It's not just about a battle of asuras and devas. Special aspect of Skanda Shashti is that some Murugan Bhaktars take a fasting vow for this festival as a way to intensify their worship. Typical vrata is to fast during the day, attend the temple festival ceremonies in the evening, and only afterwards have a meal. It is a natural time to beseech Lord Murugan to take away your pride, as he did Surapadma, and replace it with submission and humility. Some Murugan Bhaktars also observe a vrata on the monthly 6th Titi. So that's how we can apply it to ourselves. We want Murugan to take away our pride and replace it with submission and humility. Turning to another aspect of Lord Skanda, Hindu icons in our temples all have mystical symbolism. A common symbolism is to depict the god as male and God's energy or Shakti as female, as his spouse. God is everywhere seen as the beloved divine couple. Philosophically, however, the caution is always made that God and God's energy are one, and the metaphor of the inseparable divine couple serves only to illustrate this oneness. In the case of Lord Murugan, his consorts are Valli and Devayanai. Additionally, we have the veil as an important symbol. These three represent three distinct energies, powers or Shaktis. And that's the question to you. Which energy does each represent? Valli represents Itcha Shakti, the power of desire. Devayanai represents Kriya Shakti, the power of action. The veil represents Jnana Shakti, the power of wisdom. Important insights into the soul's maturing process can be gained by looking at the three Shaktis of Lord Skanda: power of desire, the power of action, and the power of wisdom, which are also the three powers of the soul. And the question to you, how do these three powers interrelate? We first have a desire, and when the desire becomes strong enough, we act. In young souls, the action may be ill-conceived, even against Dharma. For example, a man wants a computer, so he steals one. Money is needed, so he robs a bank. The soul is often caught up in repeating a cycle of similar experiences, moving back and forth from desire to action, until the needed lesson is learned. So we get stuck in these patterns of action because we don't have the full understanding or wisdom regarding it. In the case of the adharmic action of stealing, eventually he will learn the lesson that this is not the best way to acquire possessions. This learning is the Jnana Shakti, wisdom, causing his behavior to improve. This process also works for dharmic actions as well. We are helping out as a volunteer at the temple and teaching children's classes once a month. We like the feeling it gives us of helping others in a meaningful way and decide to help out every week and even participate in the meetings which plan out the classes. We are doing a selfless action, and the reaction it has on us is to feel more inner joy. Therefore, the jnana is to decide to do even more of it and thus feel more joyful. We have again improved our behavior. We can see in both of these examples how it is that the soul undergoes experiences in the world with desire leading to action, which eventually leads to wisdom and improving our behavior. This is the divine pattern through which our soul matures over many lifetimes, moving ever closer to God. So said another way, every experience is a good experience if we learn the lesson from it. We get the jnana. Whether an action we have committed is dharmic or adharmic, the worship of Lord Skanda and the power of his veil of Jnana Shakti can help us understand the wisdom or lack of wisdom of our actions more quickly. So that helps us speed up our evolution. Gurudeva gave this description. Murugan's dynamic power awakens spiritual cognition to propel souls onward in their evolution to Shiva's feet. Awakens spiritual cognition. How does Lord Murugan's grace relate to the practice of yoga? Question for you. Certainly a lot of information in this one, isn't there? It's going and going. Another symbolism involves Lord Murugan's Vahana, the peacock. The peacock, Mayil in Tamil, symbolizes effulgent beauty and religion in full glory. Furthermore, the peacock is able to control powerful snakes, such as the cobra, symbolizing the soulful domination of the instinctive elements, or control of the kundalini, which is yoga. This is shown in some depictions by having the peacock hold down a large snake with one talon. For those who are fortunate enough to be practicing yoga under the direction of a living guru, Lord Murugan plays a unique role. Gurudeva explains. To attain even the permission to perform yoga, one must have the grace of Lord Ganesha and the grace of Lord Murugan. Lord Murugan is the god of the kundalini. Of the advanced yogic practices, unfoldment all happens within the kundalini and the chakras within our subtle bodies. Once a profound relationship is developed with Lord Murugan, then with the Guru's permission and guidance, true yoga may commence. Otherwise, no matter how long one sits in meditation, no matter how hard one tries, he is just sitting. It is just trying. There is no fire there, no Shakti, no power, no change. It is the gods who control the fire, and at this stage help the devotee immensely, bringing him closer and closer to the supreme God, Shiva. My last topic is about the personal experience of Lord Murugan and begins with the concept of faith. What is the Hindu view of faith? Question to you. Faith is central to all the world's religions. Webster's dictionary defines religious faith as unquestioning belief in God and religious tenets that does not require proof or evidence. The Hindu view of faith is somewhat different. It is more than hope, more than belief. This is because in Hinduism, faith is not a static state. Rather, it is constantly deepening through personal experience and spiritual growth. The spiritual truths of Sanatana Dharma, initially accepted without proof, are ultimately proved through personal experience. Gurudeva presents this deeper concept of faith by citing an old saying favored by pragmatic intellectuals, seeing is believing, and then states that a more profound adage is believing is seeing. He goes on to explain that today's scientists and educators often turn their perceptions off by seeing with their two eyes and passing judgments based on what they currently believe. The rishis of the past and the rishis of the now and those yet to come also are seers. Their seeing is not with the two eyes, it is with the third eye, the eye of the soul. He observed, the intellect in its capacity to contain truth is a very limited tool, while faith is a very broad, accommodating, and embracing faculty. The mystery of life and beyond life of God is really better understood through faith than through intellectual reasoning. In this regard, many of the great saints and sages of Hinduism have had visions of Lord Murugan and shared them with their devotees, thus strengthening the devotees' faith and understanding of these divine beings. In ancient times, such great saints as Arunagirinadar had visions of Lord Murugan and wrote of his experiences in his devotional poems, such as in Kandar Anubhuti. Swami Shivananda, Divine Life Society founder, wrote an excellent description of this work. The term Kandar Anubhuti is derived from Kandar and Anubhuti. Kandar in Tamil is Skanda in Sanskrit. Anubhuti means becoming one with or experience. And Skanda Anubhuti means to become one with Skanda and denotes God experience. This is a work sung by Saint Arunagirinadar as a result of his God experience, or Kanda Anubhuti, which also directs others to that experience. It is the experience of the saint given expression to in such powerful words that when it is repeated by others, it is capable of bringing the same experience in them, in due course. Such is the glory of the work. That's a nice insight. A sample verse reads, in English, of course, Lord Murugan, wielder of the veil, whose form shines like the crimson sky, on that day you revealed to me the unique divine experience, Kanda Anubhuti. Having it and experiencing it is the only way to understand it. Is it something to talk about? How can it be told to someone else? In modern times, Gurudeva has shared some of his mystical experiences and perspectives of Lord Murugan in his writings and stories. One story has to do with the founding of our Kaduvul Hindu temple in Hawaii in 1973. A large Nataraja bronze had recently arrived from India, and Gurudeva was wondering where in the building to place it. No temple at the time. That night in a vision, Lord Murugan came and struck his veil 3 times on the spot where the Nataraja deity was to be placed. We placed the Nataraja there the next day, and worship began. So I like to say it's interesting that it was the front door to the building. It was just a big mansion when we first acquired it in 1970, no temple. So Murugan chose the front door. So we built a temple at the front door, and ever since all of us have to go around to the side door because we're, of course, Murugan's servants. We go in the side. For those who haven't seen our Kaduvul temple, here's a photograph of the outside. This is a photograph of the Murugan Murti during Taipusam 2019. The Abhishekam is lengthy, and this photograph is of showing the flame after the pouring of yogurt. We have arranged group pilgrimages to India and Sri Lanka since 1969, and some pilgrims on various programs had life-changing visions of Lord Murugan, as well as other deities. Such visions, born of the intensity of pilgrimage and inner striving, would often come in the form of the stone or bronze murti, moving and smiling at them, or turning into an animated human-like figure. Some devotees, with their eyes closed, inwardly saw the deity's face, as real as any living being. Though occasionally a devotee may have a vision of the deity, the more common way we experience him is as an uplifting, peaceful, divine energy or Shakti that radiates out from the image. These blessings of the deity are called Sanidhya and refer to the radiance and blessed presence of Shakti in and around the temple. Some of Gurudeva's writings, he also refers to these blessings as the darshan of the deity. It is easiest to feel these blessings at the high point of the puja when the flame is held high and the bells ring the loudest. This is because during this culminating arati, the deity and his helpers or devas reflect back the prana they have received through offerings into the aura of each devotee, purifying it of subconscious congestions. The devotee so blessed leaves feeling uplifted and relieved of mental burdens. So that's the idea. The whole puja up to that point is giving prana to the deity. The priest is giving it, the devotees are giving it, and then at a point like this, the deity uses it and gives it back. Here's an analogy with experiencing the sun. If we go outside on a sunny day and close our eyes, We can feel the sun's rays on our skin without seeing the sun in the sky, and in that way experience the sun. So our feeling nature. This is similar to what happens in the temple. Our inner or spiritual eye, the third eye, is not open, so we don't see the deity. However, we can feel in our nervous system the spiritual energy that radiates out from the Murti, and in that way experience the deity. So that's the basic way of experiencing the deity, as spiritual energy radiating out from the Murti. When in this way, Lord Murugan's blessings come into our life, we become a better person, more kind, disciplined, and spiritual. And for some reason, this is the last slide. Must have related to the original presentation. Nandari Vanakam. So that is it for today. Oh.